this so-called white man.
That's right. That's right.
Every one of them. No, just some of them.
Every one of them. Every one of them. Every one of them shall go into captivity.
Everyone is going to go into the captivity.
Bring it out.
That's what you are.
Bring it out.
Give me Ezekiel 25.
Reading something about the Israelites.
We are the Israelites.
That's right.
Were
you born in Israel?
No.
And guess what? That's right.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 25, and verse 14.
Come on.
And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom.
Guess who sold you into
A
slavery?
lot of people don't understand how God is going to...
Guess who sold the black people into
The Bible
slavery?
says God is going to lay his
It was
vengeance.
not the white people that sold you into slavery.
And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom.
The Bible says he's going to lay his vengeance upon Edom.
Your problem is
The so-called
the
white
tribal leaders in Africa sold off all your
Of my people is my people.
Guess what?
My people.
Guess where they went?
Israel.
No,
So the Most High God is going to take his vengeance.
that's right. They brought you here.
That's right.
They brought you to Australia. They did all that. That wasn't us. That was the fucking Dutch.
Teach.
That was the Dutch. Read your history. You'll learn.
Read it out. Hallelujah.
See, you just want to
Good.
talk. This is the
Read.
narrative of the
All
white
I've
man.
asked.
This is the narrative of
All
the white
I've
man.
asked.
What you asking?
Read your history.
We got this.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Read your history. Who sold the blacks into slavery? Let me ask you one question. Who was it that sold the blacks into slavery?
You.
No.
The Hamites.
You're wrong.
The Hamites.
No.
The Hamites.
No.
The Hamites.
No.
See, because y'all so...
You know who
see,
it
these
was?
people are so stupid.
No.
That's not
You know who it was?
Psalms 137 and 9.
Right.
No. You're not.
Countries in Africa.
Right.
Guess what? Tribal leaders from all the tribes sold their shit into slavery.
It's not the same.
They
Read
did
that out.
too.
Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. All praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shah being the name of his only begotten Son. Now this dragon talking some amazing stuff. And the Negroes here in America, they will regurgitate everything he's saying, especially these Christians. They will regurgitate the talking points of their slave master. Now he is a Confederate soldier, the soldiers that was against ending slavery, and he is giving talking points that these people give, and this is what a Negro will tell you, man. I was on Lapeef one late night. Lapeef, where they have these this panel full of Negroes, and they talking about their life and relationships and jobs and the condition of their peoples, police brutality. The dude steady on there, he talking about that the slaves was sold by their own peoples. And this long time ago. And so what these people don't understand is that is a bold-faced lie. Now, when you're talking about the Bible, which he said, don't read the Bible, don't listen to the Bible. See, because he know this thing is accurate history, just like Roosevelt. I don't know which Roosevelt, but one of the Roosevelt presidents, he said that a thorough knowledge of the Bible is better than any college education, because the college education is given by the Rockefellers, who are the so-called white men, and they gonna push all of their lies onto you, just like this look like he drunk. But anyhow, when you go into the book of Joel, it debunks everything that he's saying out of his mouth. Now, when you go into Google All you got to do is press in Google the greatest slavery in history. In all the history of the world, what was the greatest slavery? And it's gonna say the Atlantic slave trade real quick and real easy. It's not even gonna be no other situation that's great that's even a competition to it. It's no second place situation that's gonna even draw your attention to it. The greatest slavery, the greatest slave trade is the Atlantic slave trade that happened between the 1500s and the 1800s. There's no other situation. Now, when you go into Babylon, the Babylon situation with the Israelites went into Babylon, and the Lord sent them into Babylon, and the Lord got the Babylonians to invade Israel or Jerusalem, and they destroyed Jerusalem and took captives the people. That's how they went into slavery. And when they got there, they lived in Babylon. But see, this transatlantic slave trade was not so. The transatlantic slave trade is a different slave trade, and that's what and it's a slave trade. See, they didn't trade the Israelites in Babylon. The Israelites was not being traded to other nations from Babylon. Babylon traded the Israelites to this nation or that nation, and even then, the Babylonians was the Hamites. They was from Ham, and they still wasn't trading and selling the Israelites. They just brought them to the Babylon. That's what they did. Now, when you go into Joel, it's talking about the Atlantic slave trade because it tells you the elements of what was going on. Verse 1 say, "For behold, in those days," this is Joel chapter 3, verse 1. "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem." Now, verse 2 is well known in Christian theology that this is talking about the second coming. This is talking about Armageddon. This is talking about when the Lord gathered the nations to go to the war of that great day of God Almighty, which they call Armageddon. Most Christians will take you to this verse and tell you this is what it means. But listen at the verse, Joel 3 and 2. "I will also gather all the nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations." How was they scattered among the nations? When they went into Babylon, they was not scattered among the nations. They went to Babylon. They went to Babylon, man. They was not scattered among the nations when they went into slavery in Babylon. They just went to Babylon. That was the only slave, well, not the only slavery, but that was the slavery that these dragons keep talking about that was 2,000 years ago. No, this slavery was a prophecy that was given 2,000 years ago, but the prophecy was about the slave trade. And when the Israelites were scattered, how was they scattered? They were scattered on slave ships. That's Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Now, verse 3 of Joel is another big feature that points directly to the Atlantic slave trade. Joel 3 and 3. "And they have cast lots for my people." How was they casting lots for his people? They had the bill of sale. Bill of sale was from slave master Rodriguez, slave master Washington to slave master Jefferson. This is what was going on. Once they got off them slave ships, Deuteronomy 28 and 68, they was going to be sold. Who was they going to be sold to? The Americas was selling the Israelites among each other. They were selling the people amongst each other. It just wasn't these so-called Africans sold them. And then he want to bring up the Dutch. The Dutch is white people's. What is he talking about? And the Dutch is not the only nation that was selling them. Everybody was selling them. All the so-called white nations was being sold slaves. Now it goes on to say, have given a boy for a harlot. Now it was known that on the plantation and in during the Atlantic slave trade, that the so-called white man was having relations with the boys. Just like they got pedophilia now, they was doing pedophilia back then on the plantation. Just like they doing in the Catholic Church, they was doing back then on the plantation. And they was selling the boys for harlots so they could sleep with the little boys. Now, and it says, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So it's letting you know it wasn't just that, some guy had some bottles of wine and he sold these girls for his bottles of wine. No, they was trying to drink wine, and they was selling the girls so they can go pick the sugar cane down there in the islands, Jamaica, Antigua, St. Martin, whatever St. Island they got down there. They were selling the women and the children and the men, but mainly the women. I got a bill of sale that's directly talking about 3 Negro women being sold to a plantation in Antigua, where my peoples come from, and they was picking sugar cane, making molasses, turning into syrup and sugar and wine, directly from the Atlantic slave trade. You see, then in verse 4 of Joel chapter 3, verse 4, it tells you who was these so-called your people, the tribal kings. No, it wasn't no tribal kings. It was old Tyree. Let me read the verse. Joel 3 and 4. Yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyree and Zidon and all the coast of Palestine? This is that area over there in so-called Africa. And these Hamites, because Tyree and Zidon, these are from Ham. They're not from Judah and they're not from Jerusalem. See, because this is talking about the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, but Ham, Tyree, and Zidon was the ones selling them, not your own people. They weren't the same people. Tyree and Zidon is not Israelites. They're not Judites, or they're not from Jerusalem, a part of the 12 tribes. Tyree and Zidon is 2 Hamite nations. Now look at what the Lord said he gonna do to them. He said, will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? See, he said he gonna pay them darn Hamites back. Verse 5, he said, because ye have taken my silver and my gold and have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant thing. What else did they do? Verse 6. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians. See, the Hamites was selling the Israelites to the Grecians. Who were these Grecians? This same account, because this is the greatest slavery, the greatest captivity known in all history. All you got to do is go to Google, the history archives, and it'll tell you that the Atlantic slave trade was the greatest history. Amos chapter 1 6 and 9. It says that Gaza and Tyre, see, that's the Hamites and the Arab. The Arab was involved in it. It says, thus says the Lord, I'm going to read verse 9, Amos 1 and 9. Thus says the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered. See, they sold the Israelites unto the Grecians. But who is these Grecians? Because back to Amos 1 and 9, it say, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remember not the brotherly covenant. So the Arabs and the so-called Hamites delivered the whole captivity of Judah and Jerusalem to the Edomites, because there was no such thing as a Greek or a Grecian nation. All those people was Edomites. That's just the name that the Edomites was adopting when they took over that land, because the people that had the land before them was calling themselves Grecians. So the Edomites got in there and said, well, we Grecians now. But they was Edomites. Now when you go into Jeremiah 49, it lets you see this is why they regurgitating lies. This is why they telling lies about the situation. When it's certified history, it's clear history. Jeremiah 49, starting at verse 10, it say, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. See, he's trying to hide himself. You see how he tried to hide himself? He said, that was the Dutch. That wasn't us. That wasn't me. See, he don't want to take accountability. Like a Negro woman. Like a masculine Negro woman. Don't want to take accountability. Esau don't want to be accountable for what he did. And he's going to try to hide himself. That was the Dutch. The Dutch is white people. The man say the white man sold folks into slavery. And he gonna say, oh, it was the Dutch. That wasn't us. Y'all, the Dutch was white people. What are you talking about? But we know what he's doing. He's trying to hide himself. See, Jeremiah 49 and 10 expose these dragons because they trying to hide themselves. And the Lord let it be known. See, Esau is Edom. That's Genesis 36. And so, when you go to Jeremiah 49, it lets you know. This is verse 7. Jeremiah 49, verse 7. Concerning Edom. See, it's concerning Edom, but in verse 10, it say, I have made Esau bare. Because Esau and Edom is synonymous for the nation. You can call the nation Esau, or you can call the nation Edom. But Edom means red, the red peoples. They was the ones trying to hide themselves. They are the liars that King David was talking about. They love to lie. They want to hide their identity and not take accountability of what they did. You see? And so this is these dragons, man. He got his Confederate outfit on, and he trying to hide. Hey, that wasn't my people's. That wasn't us. And he clearly know that the Negro, George Washington had 300 slaves because his daddy died and gave him the slaves, and then he got about 100-something slaves from his wife when he married his wife. So him and his wife had about 300-something slaves. They could sell them when they sell a couple of them when they want to sell a couple of them. They can do what they want. They were selling slaves at Christmas. Look at Revelation. What is it? Revelation chapter 11. Revelation chapter 11. starting at verse, let's see here, Revelation 11. Okay. Oh, verse 10. Revelation 11 and 10, it say, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them. You see? They was rejoicing over the slaves. It says, and make merry, what they call Christmas. Merry Christmas. And shall send gifts one to another. You see, this is what these slave masters, the Christian pastors that these Negroes want to listen to, this is what they did during that time with George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, selling their slaves as Christmas gift. I got a good Christmas gift for you. Look, I got an old buck here. He's nice and strong. Merry Christmas. See, the prophets is gonna be able to decode this Bible. That's Amos 3 and 7. The Lord is gonna reveal His secrets. He's gonna reveal the understanding to the prophets, not a red dragon who was selling his people for Christmas gifts, and not a red dragon that's trying to hide himself. You see, trying to hide the fact that the Atlantic slave trade is in the Bible. All the history is in the Bible because it's a Bible of prophecy. And prophecy is going to kill him. That's why he called the Israelites prophets. It's that Amos 2 and 11. He going to choose the prophet from the nation of Israel. They the ones that's going to get these prophecies and demolish these Edomites. Expose them like they never been exposed, because they thinking that the Bible is about 2,000 years ago, when it was telling prophecies 2,000 years ago about what was going to happen in the future. Let me end on that, because this is what these dragons are push on the Negroes. And the Negroes will believe them, because that's how they worship the dragon or the beast, when they believe the crap that come out of their mouth. Isaiah 46 and 10. Declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times the things that are not yet done. See, when it's not yet done, that means you done declared it 2,000 years ago, before it even happened. See, saying my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. He was gonna make it happen, and he declared it 2,000 years ago. The Atlantic slave trade with these Edomites was going to get the whole captivity from the Hamites, the dark black Hamite Africans, and the Arabs, Ishmaelites, and Elams. They was going to get the slaves from these people and then sell them amongst themselves. But Esau going to try to hide his self. He don't want to take no accountability of his part. He blaming it on the Dutch, which that's his own people. But he trying to play a mind trick, a fugitive. He just a fugitive trying to lie and hide from the police. But I'm going to leave it there. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kakadash. Double honors to the elders pushing the truth. Peace of the elect worldwide. Our kingdom is at hand. Shalom.